Hi guys, I'm Misty, and welcome to my first DevJournal video. Recently, as of March 18th, I started making my own video game from scratch, with very little prior experience. I know my way around Unity a little bit since I took a class in high school about it, and I know a little bit of coding from classes in college, but that doesn't transfer to much actual knowledge in the game development field. Unity is a super complex program, and I've been learning C, not C#, but for the past almost 2 weeks, I've been teaching myself game development, and C#, and Unity, and whatever. So I thought I'd document my process with everything that I've been doing. I already have a written dev journal going in Google Doc that's currently 13 pages long, but I thought it would be cool to also turn it into a video series. So here's episode 1 of my dev journal. And I'll be talking about the premise of the game, the gameplay loop, and what I've already done in the game, like explaining different objects or scripts in the game, and how I've coded and implemented different mechanics. In future episodes, I'll give updates on things that I've changed, things I've added, and probably what I'm planning on doing next. So to start, I'll talk about what the game is actually going to be, which is a deck builder rhythm game. I'm imagining it as kind of a mix between like Magic the Gathering TCG, Pokemon video games, Balatro, and Gunfire Reborn. The main gameplay loop will be battles between you and an opponent. The battles will be turn-based, where you choose an attack or to use an item, and the opponent will attack back. However, it's not going to be that simple. I did say it's a rhythm game. While the attacking format plays out like a Pokemon game, the power of your moves will be decided by how well you perform the music-based skill check. You'll play along to 4 bars of the battle song, you'll get a score, and your score will modify the damage or the effect of the attack. You'll also be able to have a team of little guys, named Pending, who will give you boons to your gameplay. Some of them may give you attack up, some defense up, some might assist in different gameplay styles. Like you must get 90% or more perfect notes, and then your score's doubled. A lot of the boon ideas I got from Gunfire Reborn scrolls, but in general, I'm not 100% sure how the player will obtain these little guys. The one will be given in the introduction to the game, and the rest you'll earn from battles or side quests. But I'm still not sure in the exact format. There also isn't a story or art style set in stone yet, but I'll get to that in due time. Right now, my plan is to get all the mechanics working, and then after that, I can work on the story, the art style, running the gameplay, and adding fishing and gambling mechanics, or whatever else I might need. So let's go in order of what the gameplay looks like so far. First of all, the player can move with WASD and the arrow keys and can interact with E. I'm using a super simple player movement script for this. It's just get input from the horizontal or vertical keys and then move the player and camera accordingly. Second, the way I'm making the background is using the built-in Unity tile palette / grid tool. I designed a placeholder 16 by 16 pixel art squares to use and a goofy house that's fun. I'm not sure if I want to stick with this design or even with the setting, so this is very much subject to change, though I'm for sure keeping the pixelated top-down style. Third, NPCs and interacting. This is where my lack of knowledge of C# would have started to show, but I kinda logged in for this one. I have a parent C# class that defines common variables and functions across all NPC classes, and subclasses for the NPCs that trigger a battle, a side quest, or they give the player an item. Each subclass has their own unique interact function, or are they called methods in C#? I don't know. Basically, the NPCs have an interaction range. When the player enters the range, the game will start checking if the player presses E, and when they do, the interaction method will trigger. In this case, the one NPC I have in the game is Battle NPC, so their script sets the game state to talking, which disables player and camera movement, and displays the dialogue canvas, and starts dialogue. Right now, the dialogue is stored in an array of strings attached to the player. However, I've heard of a Unity native program called Yarn Spinner, which is apparently great for NPC dialogue, so I might look into that in the future. But after reading all the dialogue, the battle starts. And now's a great time to talk about the battles. Battles will play out similarly to the Pokemon video games as I mentioned previously, where it's turn-based and you choose which move you want to perform per turn. I made this kind of mock-up of what I want the battle screen to look like in Photopia, which is iteration number 3 of the design, and implemented in the game right now is still iteration 1, so I'll need to change that out in the future. But basically, you have your enemy sprite up top with their name and health, and the player sprite, the little guys, and the name and health at the bottom. Toolbar / menu at the bottom of the screen is where you'll select if you want to use a move, which will then open another menu to choose the move. You can select item to open up your inventory of items, or you can select stats to see the statistics of your team and the enemy, which will look like this. On the right is the note highway, which is where the rhythm section comes in. All things considered, it's pretty basic, and most of it comes from a tutorial series I found on YouTube. The notes fall from the top of the screen, and you hit them to score points using the home row keys. Each button has a hitbox that determines the amount of points you get from hitting a note. If you hit the note in the perfect range, you get 100 points for the note. If you hit the note in the nice range, you'll get points according to how close you were to getting a perfect hit. If you completely miss the note, you lose 50 points. At the end of the performance, your total score is divided by the number of notes spawned, which will get you a score between 0 and 100. But Misty, how do notes spawn? And how is it matched with the tempo of the song? And how does the song loop? Great question. I will answer all of those. For the note spawning, I have a script that reads a txt file to get data on the song and for when to spawn the notes. For example, this is what my demo song looks like from top to bottom. It reads the beat the repeated section starts on, the beat the repeated section ends on, the tempo of the song, and how many beats per measure there are. Any line starting with a hashtag is ignored by the script, and anything past that is note data. Those are in the format of beat number and which lane they will spawn in. If you want a more in-depth explanation, I'll put up the README file that I wrote out, so you can pause to read that if you want. And then these note datas are held in a list, and then when the song is a measure away from when the note is supposed to spawn, it spawns the note just above the top of the screen, so it falls down and perfectly aligns with the box it's supposed to be hit. The battle song obviously also has to loop, which was tricky to figure out, but it did work out in the end. The TLDR is that the script has to anticipate the repeat by one beat to let the first notes spawn before they need to be hit. I also have beat dividers, which spawn at the beginning of every beat, and follow a similar logic to spawning notes, respecting the repeat. And I'm using Fmod for the music, for looping the tracks, and also for some possible ideas for curses that the enemy can put on you during a battle. And I plan on continuing to use Fmod for sound effects and other non-battle music. Now that I've explained everything I've done so far, let me show you what the game currently looks like. So obviously this is still very much in development. Like, I've been solely developing this for only 2 weeks. Right now, the next thing I want to work on is giving the player an enemy's stats like health, attack, and defense. And then I'll work out how moves will be stored and accessed, and exactly how damage will be calculated during battles. After that, I'm going to work out how adding rhythm as a middle step between choosing a move and dealing damage, or whatever the move does. I want it to work so that the player plays for 4-bar sections starting at the start of a phrase. I'm not 100% sure how I want to go about that yet, if I want to modify the structure of the txt file, if I want to hard code something in, or how I want to code the note highway to look, and wireless menus. I also do have an idea for the main character. I'm thinking obviously it has to be an animal, so maybe the cat and the little guys it runs around with are common cat prey like fish, birds, and mice, or if it's a canine, biting squirrels and other small mammals, something like that. But yeah, thanks for watching my first dev journal for my game. I'm excited to keep working on this project, and hopefully I'll post updates weekly or when something big happens. I'll also link the Google Doc to the written dev journal in the description if you want live updates, but I'll also hopefully be releasing videos once a week as I just mentioned. If you have any suggestions on things that should change, things that should add to the game, or directions to head in, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.